Okay, let's review the shoulder joint, which is the glenohumeral joint. That's the proper anatomical name. Now, is the articulation between, here's the head of the humerus, right here, and the glenoid cavity of the scapula. So we're going to put these two bones together, and those are the two articulating surfaces. As you can see, and we have described this on the lab, the glenoid cavity is almost flat. It's not a real socket. Can you see? It's almost flat. And that doesn't keep the head of the humerus in place. So in order to improve a little bit these articulating surfaces, we have attached here to the rim of the glenoid cavity, we have a rim of fibrocartilage. Fibrocartilage, not hyaline cartilage, fibrocartilage in here. We can see it in this picture. And what it does is just, it gives depth to the glenoid cavity. This piece of fibrocartilage is called glenoid labrum. I don't have the name in here, but here it is, glenoid labrum. Okay, now those are the articulating surfaces. What are the elements of any synovial joint? Remember, these articulating surfaces, the glenoid cavity and the head of the humerus, are covered by a piece of cartilage. But this cartilage is hyaline cartilage, it's the articular cartilage. So there are two different types of cartilage here in this articulation. The regular articular cartilage that consists of hyaline cartilage, like in any other joint, but besides, on top of that, we have the glenoid labrum, which consists of fibrocartilage. Okay, in between, remember, in order to do, or what it makes a synovial joint synovial is the presence of a cavity. So these two bones are not touching each other. There's a space in here, and in this space is called the synovial space, and it's the one that is filled with synovial fluid, and that synovial fluid is produced by the capsule. But remember, the capsule is like, remember the tennis ball? There is wrapping these two structures. Okay, my hand in here is the capsule. I'm just holding or attaching into the scapula and into the humerus to keep both bones together. That's the capsule. The thing is that it looks different outside. It's a fibrous capsule, and if I cut it open and I see the inside, oh look, the inside of the capsule, it consists of the synovial membrane, which produces the synovial fluid that fills inside the cavity, the synovial cavity. So here in blue, you can see the articular cartilage. This yellowish surface is supposed to be the synovial cavity with the synovial fluid. In green, you have the synovial membrane, and superficial to that, you have the fibrous layer of the capsule. Those are the elements, right, of the synovial membrane that we can describe here in the glenohumeral joint. Now, remember, this joint is, oh, look at here, the real stuff. So this is the head of the humerus, and this, can you see this oval? Follow my cursor, this oval thing, that's the glenoid cavity. And what is attached to the glenoid cavity? This is the glenoid labrum. The glenoid labrum. And this is the capsule that they just cut. See, this is the capsule, they cut it. So outside it looks fibrous, but the inside, can you see? Well, not very clearly in here, but it's smooth, and it consists of the synovial membrane. And this space is supposed to be filled with liquid, with the synovial fluid. And outside, the entire joint is kept together by ligaments and muscles, like we just described in the previous video. So in here you can see some of the ligaments. There are many ligaments. Most of them are loose, which provides a lot of mobility to the joint, besides the factor of, the glenoid cavity being shallow. You can see also some bursae in here, between ligaments, but also there are some bursae sometimes between these two bony processes, between the greater tubercle of the humerus and the acromion of the scapula. It varies. These bursae sometimes, remember, they're filled with synovial fluid. Sometimes they get inflamed by friction or overuse of that articulation. And what do you have then? A bursitis. That's a bursitis. The other factors that we said that can provide stability to the joint are muscles, right? And this happened to be the tendon. See, this is muscle, this is white, and I cannot see it, but it's attaching to the bone. So what is the element that attaches a muscle to the bone? A tendon. So this is the tendon of the biceps brachii muscle in the anterior aspect of your brachial or region of your arm. This tendon attaches, if you remember, or if you already covered that in your lab, it attaches right there in the superior portion of the glenoid cavity, right there. It's called the supraglenoid tubercle. This is the long, the tendon of the long head of the biceps. That's why biceps is called bicep, because it has two heads. So that tendon comes from here. Let me put this together so you can see. So it comes from here and it descends through this groove. Do you remember the name of this groove in between the tubercles? The intertubercular sulcus. So in here, in the intertubercular sulcus is where that tendon is. So you can see how, look at my finger, imagine that's the tendon, how the tendon can keep together the scapula and the head of the humerus in place. This is not enough. Since this is such a mobile and the joint, the one that we can move the most in our body, we need another layer. This is not enough to protect or to provide stability to the joint, just the ligaments and just one tendon. So that's the reason why we have the rotator cuff muscles that consist on 4 muscles that we will describe on the chapter of muscles, 11, 12. And they provide anterior, superior, medial, posterior attachment or protection to that joint. Movements, remember the movements that we can perform with these joints are flexion, extension, hyperextension. What else? That's in the sagittal plane. On the frontal plane, abduction, adduction. We can also perform circumduction, which is flexion, abduction, extension, adduction. And also we can perform medial and lateral rotation. So almost every movement that we know can be performed by the shoulder joint. So see you in the next video. Let's describe the elbow joint.